Good afternoon and welcome to Midday Moms. This is Dorothy Pilarski, and I'd like to welcome each and every one of you signing on. As you know, we are faith partners with the Archdiocese of Toronto, and we run a ministry called three words, CatholicMomsGroup.com. We are on a mission to revive the vocation of motherhood, primarily by helping parishes start Catholic moms groups. And to that end, we like providing our Catholic Mothers Group leaders with amazing books. And I found an amazing book and I wanted to share it with you. We're blessed to have the author, Conor Gallagher, with us. The more I read about Conor, I'm going to give you just a short bio. He's the CEO of multiple businesses, including Well Ordered Family, Goodwill Publishers, and Tan Books. He's the executive director of Benedict Leadership Institute at Belmont Abbey College, where he serves on the board of trustees. He's also a board member at St. Joseph College Seminary in Mount Holly, North Carolina. His published books include If Aristotle's Kid Had an iPod, Ancient Wisdom for Modern Parents, and the list goes on and on. And I got to tell you something. I got to tell you something straight up from the bottom of my heart that, most of you know that I spend probably too much time on Facebook. And today I was in a mom's group on Facebook chatting about the upcoming interview, trying to get moms engaged. And I was asking them, what are some of your favorite books? And someone said to me, oh, my absolute favorite book is Parenting for Eternity by Conor Gallagher. And I'm like, dang, I've never heard of that book. And so I'm looking forward to getting that book too. Anyway, enough of me chatting. I wanted to extend a warm welcome to Conor. Welcome, Conor, and thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you. I'm honored to be here. What a very kind introduction. And I have to tell you though, Dorothy, so when I was telling my wife this morning, she says, "What do you got? What are you doing today?" And I said, "Well, I'm on a podcast." She's like, "Oh, okay, which one?" And I said, "Well, it's called like Midday Moms." And she started laughing at me. And she's like, "You're going on a mom show?" And I said, "Yeah, what's wrong with that?" And she's like, "You should go on a show called Doomsday Dad, but not Midday Moms." So she thought it's hilarious that I'm talking to a bunch of moms. But anyway, here I am.
Well, here you are. And I've got to tell you, Conor, again, I know nothing other than being completely transparent. I was completely taken by your idea of taking business principles and transferring them into the home. I used to deliver corporate training programs across Canada, the US, internationally on 101 different business topics. And I fell in love with you instantly because I was kind of like, oh my gosh. Because, so often we've got the social work types in ministry, and very often they don't get me. And sometimes they're very suspicious of me. Like, what are you doing ministering to moms? And so I was just really taken by the fact that you've taken these two very different worlds and, brought them together with very useful tools for not only moms, but dads as well. Before I continue with the interview, everybody knows that I like making a pitch for our ministry because we are constantly looking for Catholic Mothers Group leaders. I'm going to share our ministry videos. It is our hope that somebody at the end of this interview says, yep, I'm going to do it. I'm going to start a Catholic Moms Group. We've helped start groups across Canada, the US. We even have a mothers group in the North Pole, and we love providing our mothers group leaders with resources. So just a quick switch to our video, and then we'll come back to our interview.
Mothers, by our very nature, we are nurturing, loving caregivers. We are social beings. made for friendship and community. We are also spiritual by nature, made by a loving God to know Him and love Him, and to pass this love of our Catholic faith on to our children. But right now, many mothers feel overextended, distracted, and exhausted. Though as Catholics, we have the community of our church, many mothers attending Mass could not name the moms sitting next to them in the pew they share. Community and support among Catholic mothers is desperately needed in this hectic and chaotic culture. Your parish needs you to bring these moms together.
Hi, my name is Dorothy Pilarski. I'm the founder of Catholic Moms Group. We at Catholic Moms Group are on a mission to revive the vocation of motherhood. We exist to bring together like-minded, faith-filled mothers who crave community and are focused on spiritual growth, Catholic teaching, and fellowship. Can you imagine a thriving, engaged mothers group at your parish? A group of moms in love with their Catholic faith, ready to serve other mothers no matter what stage of motherhood they're at. Can you imagine what a difference that would make at your parish? Starting a mothers group, it's not rocket science, but working with a team who's done it before and who's done it dozens and dozens of times sure does help. The Catholic Moms Group membership site is an online community that offers training, resources, and dozens of tools for parishes to help them start a mothers group quickly and efficiently. We're here to provide you with a clear path to launching a Catholic Moms Group at your parish. All of our materials are 100% Catholic. We have clearly laid out meetup plans for both moms groups and toddler groups. We are obedient to the magisterium of the Catholic Church. We have created dozens of tools that are going to save you time and energy. And besides that, we love our Blessed Mother. We constantly turn to her for her intercession. You can make a huge impact in your parish, so join us. We are revolutionizing the way parishes start mothers groups by providing parishes with a Catholic Mothers Group starter kit and by nourishing and training a community of Catholic Mothers Group leaders across the world. It's time to start a mothers group at your parish. Join us today. And so a big warm welcome to all of you who have joined us today, and a big warm welcome to Conor. One thing I didn't mention, you guys have got to hear this. Conor is the father of 16 children, 16, 6. And so we're blessed to have him here. I wanted to say hello to Claude. I know that you're from Dubai, so a big hello. I want to say hi to Tina. And if any of you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat as we're talking to Conor about this incredible book. I'm kind of thinking that every one of you should buy this book for your husbands for Christmas. I think it would make a great Christmas gift. So Conor, can you tell us a little bit about what led you to write this book and how you sort of came to bring ministry and business together? And then I'll take a lead into the rest of the questions. But how did you come to that? Like to take business concepts and blend them in with family life and to write a book about it?
Well, first, I mean, let me say I was impressed with your video just now. I was really impressed with that. I'm gonna refer my daughter to you. She's a new mother. So yeah, I'm impressed. I hope my 10 audience can learn about what you do. We got a lot of moms.
You know what?
So, but any,
we've just designed a publication with 3 new videos for brand new moms. It's called Your Life is Going to Change. And the producer of that video produced the 3 videos that go with Your Life is Going to Change. So I'll send you a copy
Yeah.
as a gift. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, it's an impressive group, but well done. Well done. So to answer your question, so as my family was growing every 16 months or so, we were having a new baby. And one time we had 2 because of twins 7 years ago. But as the kids were growing, the family was growing in complexity. At the same time, I noticed that my business was growing in complexity as well. Tan was having a lot of success. Tan has grown substantially since we bought it out of bankruptcy 16 years ago. But with growth, complexity enters the mix, right? And so I wasn't a business student in school. I don't have an MBA. I had never worked in another business. I'm a philosopher. I have a master's in philosophy and a law degree. So I was a lawyer, and then all of a sudden I'm running this Catholic publishing company that was in bankruptcy twice. So it was struggling to stay open. It was just about to close down. And so I read every business book on the planet I could get my hands on. I mean, I counted one day, and I stopped counting at about 250 business books that I had consumed over the years. And I noticed, being a philosopher, Dorothy, I realized that there was a common thread that ran through all of these books. And, I'm a philosopher by training. I really focused on the natural law. So I started talking about the natural law of business, the natural law of business. And then I realized, well, my wife is running a business at the house, man. I mean, this is like, we got the teenagers, it's like mid-level management. Um, we got all the chore charts, which is like, a big project board that, we have to use at the office every day. So I started seeing more and more that the problems she was dealing with on a day-to-day basis were not that different from the problems I was dealing with on a day-to-day basis. Like, so, come home, hey, how was your day, honey? And then, I would say, oh, I had this problem with this employee and I had to deal with this problem. And then she'd say, yeah, I had this problem with this 13-year-old teenager. And I'm like comparing notes with another CEO. It's like, so I started saying, you know what though? I'm like on my A game at work. I am at the office. I'm showing my team that I know what I'm doing. I put on my leadership. I put on my big boy pants and my leadership pants. And I say, hey, we got to go. We are going to overcome these obstacles. We're going to have a clear vision. We're going to have certain meetings and stay on the same page. We're going to have a scorecard and track certain metrics. And when we reach obstacles, I'm going to lead this team through those obstacles, and I'm going to keep my team on mission and not allow all the problems to get in the way. And I was damn good at it. And then I would go home, and I was a bumbling idiot waiting for my wife to tell me what to do. And I was like the oldest of all the children. So I started saying, why is it that my wife never gets to see me on my A game? You know, I'm the man at work and I'm an idiot at home. What the heck? Right. And so I started saying, well, we're both kind of running businesses here. Why don't I start showing her some of the stuff I know? And so I started bringing certain business tools home. I said, hey, why don't we have a vision statement for our house? Why don't we have a scorecard for our family, like the metrics we want to track? Why don't we improve our chore chart so it's more of a management tool, et cetera. And so over time, I just started wanting to impress my wife. I kind of wanted to be more of a leader at home, not so much because I felt like the moral duty to do it. It was more like I just want to look better in front of my wife. I just kind of want to impress her. And so that was a major motivator for me. I wish it was for better reasons, but that was my reason. And so as we started doing that, I started feeling more comfortable of what it meant to be a leader at home. Now I had to figure out a way to do it and not like stifle what she'd been doing all day. Like it's her ship. Like she's the captain of the ship all day. So when I come home, it's sort of like, well, what's my role? And I think a lot of men struggle with that
Mhm.
because like they know they have a special role in the home. They're like a certain type of leader, a certain type of spiritual leader for their home, but it's their wife's domain usually. I mean, it's complex. Everyone has different situations, but by and large, like how do they go home and exercise some level of leadership without, you know, being disrespectful to everything his wife has been doing. So that was a struggle for me. And I found these tools where my wife and I are able to work on this stuff as partners. And she leans on me to be more of that visionary. But I saw that this was building my relationship with my wife
Mhm.
more than anything else I had been doing. That's a long answer to your question, but that's basically how it all got started. And then it turned into a book because people said, how do you do this with 16 kids, 15 kids, 13 kids? I can barely handle it with two. And I'd usually say, look, I don't raise 15 kids. Okay. I manage environments. Just like I don't manage 150 people in these different businesses. I manage environments and systems and processes. I don't manage 150 people. Come on. No business executive does. Same concepts. The natural law of business applies to home because your family is a group of individuals trying to accomplish a certain goal. And that's what a business is. That's what a church is. That's what an athletic team is. Human nature don't change. We're stuck with it, and you might as well learn to work with it. And the very same principles that help business succeed can help mom and dad succeed at home.
Yeah, no, that was, thank you for that. Thank you for that. I just wanted to sort of take note that Peggy here says that tan was a staple on our bookshelves growing up. Tina says ditto. And I also, I grew up in a Polish immigrant family. My parents immigrated from Poland back who knows when, and they couldn't speak very much English, honestly. So I was always looking to grow in faith through these little booklets, and all these little booklets were tan booklets, and I was
Yeah.
incredibly grateful. And thank you for that turnaround, because I would just hate to think that tan wouldn't exist if someone didn't have the skill set to take it around and turn it around and have it still here for us. Can you provide us with an overview of the well-ordered family and the 6 components of the well-ordered family management system? And what are some of the advantages of the principles?
Yeah. So just a quick rundown. So I separated it into um, 6 parts to this family management system. And you don't have to implement this in your life in this particular order. In fact, I have coaching services now that we can work with you, and you take a family assessment test. That's all. That's free on the website. It's fun. You go to wilderfamily.com, take this little assessment test. And the
Can you
test,
tell me the website again? Because I think you went a little too fast and maybe some people didn't get it.
sorry,
Okay.
it's called wellorderedfamily.com,
Okay.
wellorderedfamily.com.
Okay, so has everyone got that? Wellorderedfamily.com. Roseanne or Peggy, can you maybe type it into the chat? Because I get a little bit frazzled when I'm trying to type and talk and look at my next question. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. So
Yeah,
okay,
thank
so
you. And so if you go there, you can, under free resources, you're going to see an assessment test. It takes like 5 minutes to take, and it's fun. Everyone likes assessment tests. So this test is going to tell you the strengths and weaknesses you have in the 6 parts of the system. Now, after you do that 6 part little assessment test, then do one of our free consultation with one of our coaches, and the coach will kind of walk you through your results and say, hey, you're really strong in vision, but you're weak in systems. Let's see how we can help you with that. So we have these resources. So you don't have to go in the 6 that I'm about to walk you through to answer your question. But you start with the assessment test, you start with our free coaching, and then take it from there. So the first part of the system is vision. This is the quick run through. You need vision. Okay. If you're going to accomplish anything great in life, whether it's being an athlete or a business or anything, or starting a mom's group, say in the Catholic Church that's spreading around the world, let's say, you have to have a clear vision, right? You have to have this picture in your head of this is what, and you have to have a clear idea. This is the purpose that God has ordained for this and for this community or whatever. So, what's your vision? And so, yeah, writing a vision statement is helpful. And so that's the first part. You have to be a visionary. So mom and dad have to take on the role. Maybe you want to say it's mom or dad, or it's a kind of a co-team, whatever you want to do. I'm not here to get into gender roles, but you want to say, okay, we have to have a visionary in our family. My wife wants me to kind of take the majority of that role on, but come on, everything we do it's a team. So like we're always thinking about this together, but I kind of take the responsibility of pushing the vision of the family forward. And if she doesn't like something, we don't do it, but I mean, we work on it together. The stupid old joke the old guys used to tell me, I make all the big decisions, she makes all the small decisions, but in 24 years of marriage, there's never been a big decision. Okay, so
Yeah,
whatever.
that's a good one.
There's some truth. There's some truth in that. But so I'm kind of the visionary for our family, but it's teamwork. But being a visionary means making sure that your family is perfectly aligned on the ultimate objectives. And I think writing that down. So one of the tools I have, this is a tool-based system. So again, on welderfamily.com, you can download all these PDFs. I have what's called a family master plan. And that's where you answer, what's your vision statement? What are your core virtues, like core values in a company? What's your family motto? What's your family beatitude? All these kinds of things. Do a SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunity, threats. All these things kind of give a big picture of where your family is and where it's going. So that's vision. Part 2, unity. You have to have unity in order for vision to work. So 1% of success is vision in a company. 99% is unity around that vision. So coming up with a beautiful vision statement can be like completely useless if your family doesn't have harmony. Okay. So the way you do that at sports is you have practice. The way you do that in an orchestra is you have rehearsal. The way you do that in business, you have meetings. Well, all of these are meetings. So you need meetings in your family to kind of stay on the same page. So I have agendas that help you stay on the path together in meetings. Part 3, systems. Systems is macro systems and micro systems. So macro systems is your overall huge environment that your family lives in. And what I like to say, Dorothy, is you need to be the architect of this whole system. That includes your social life, technological life, religious life, educational life, all of these things that you and your kids are participating in. Do not fall into the trap of thinking, well, the world requires my 13-year-old to have a cell phone. Well, my kids have to play travel soccer and travel baseball and travel hockey. Well, everyone does this, everyone does that. No, 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 no. You're letting the world be the architect of your family. You and only you are the architect of your family life. And I help you kind of see it as an architect. So you build these systems, you build these processes. Micro systems are like chore charts, getting the laundry done, that kind of stuff, little things that kind of make the day run smoother. So usually, Dorothy, when I'm talking about systems, people want to say, how do you get the laundry done? And the answer is, crap, it's really hard. Like, it's just a constant everyday battle. There's no real super answer. But if the laundry's not getting done, but you have an entire ecosystem of happiness and wholesomeness and you're thriving spiritually as a family, the laundry doesn't mean as much. So just like if your life is a disaster and your kids have lost the faith or your kids are addicted to pornography, if the laundry doesn't get done, are you really worried? So let's put these things in perspective, right? So the macro system's a much bigger deal, but we can also help you get the laundry done better. But that's not the important part, right? But one of the very important parts is what I call the digital policy. I put that under the microsystems. You have to control the technology for your kids, period. One of the main things about business wisdom that I've learned is you have a system for everything. So parents, moms on there, listen up to this. You don't take anything forget everything else that's said on this episode here. This is the part you need to take away. If you tell yourself, I don't really have a digital policy for my kids, you're lying to yourself. Your digital policy is you're entrusting your kids to the internet. That's your policy. So it stinks. Let's make a better policy, right? If you tell yourself, I don't have really a financial system, like a budget. Well, actually, you do have a financial system. It's spend money and see what the hell happens. Like, it's a bad system. Recognize you have a bad system, and then let's make improvements, right? So when it comes to the technology, one of the most important things in my book is the digital policy builder. You need to go to the website and download that tool, and with your husband, sit down and detail out in painstaking detail the rules and regulations around the technology for your kids. It's just too dangerous to not do that.
Okay, Conor, I just want to sort of share with you one of my policies while my kids were growing up. And for those of you that don't know, I'm a first-time grandma very recently, so my children are a little bit older. But a lot of moms, when they hear me say this, they're saying, no way, Dorothy, you didn't do that. I'm like, you better believe I did it. whenever I left the house or whenever one of my kids who are now adults broke the contract that we signed, I would leave the house and take the modem with me.
I love it. I love it.
No arguments, no negotiations, no discussions. I just unplug the modem and I'd leave. And people say, well, Dorothy, you can't do that. I said, you watch me. We're paying the bills. And if I want to take the modem with me, guess what? Or if there's been a breach with the cell phone in high school, I say one breach and I'm retrieving it for 6 weeks. And they're like, 6 weeks? I go, yeah,
Yeah.
you watch it.
Yeah.
And there's so much power when you're paying.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Like,
Thank you, Dorothy. You're nailing it. And that's the thing is like parents feel helpless and they start playing the victim. And that's why like this goes into being the architect. You have to build these things. So yeah, I don't think that little kids deserve privacy. That's something that the Supreme Court in the United States created a long time ago out of thin air. We need to really manage the tech. So that's part three. To real quick go through the others. Metrics is like, what are you going to measure? That's a scorecard. Okay. If you get real serious about something, you're going to start measuring it. If you're real serious about health, you measure your calories. If you're real serious about fitness, you measure your steps, you measure your investments. Well, what do you need to measure in your family? I measure like how many times a week we pray rosary as a family, how many times a month we go to confession, debt payoff. I used to be way fatter than I am. I've lost 40 pounds. So I actually measure my body fat percentage. I actually do that. It's on the scorecard because I was type 2 and I don't want to go back. So, all of these things we measure, whatever you're serious about, you really start to measure. And then the last 5 and 6 parts is relationships. We're real big into the temperaments and other assessment tests that like help parents understand the conflict that they're having and why they're having it. And I got tools to help parents get through conflict with their kids. And then part 6 is discernment, and that's decision making and problem solving. We're plagued with a bunch of decisions. Do I spend this money? Do my kids do these activities, etc.? I think a lot of stress comes from these undecided issues in our brains, like festering. And I have decision making tools to help you bring those things to conclusion. That's the 6 parts. It takes a long time to go through them, but actually that was pretty quick compared to the 60,000 word book. So there you
yeah,
go.
and remember, they're all in the book, The Well-Ordered Family. We're speaking to Conor Gallagher, and I highly recommend that you get the book as a gift for your husband for Christmas. I think it's a great Christmas gift. Conor, as parents of 16, I still can't believe it, like 16 children, how do you and your wife prioritize your children's needs, maintain order in your household, and still find time for one another?
Well, the last part, find time with one another, it's like way easier than it ever has been. Because you don't have 16 babies, right? I mean, they actually grow up and leave. And so, when I meet parents that have like 5 kids, 8 and under or something like that. And I remember what that was like. And that's way harder. So if you're in that situation out there, moms, and you got a bunch of kids under the age of 12 or 13, you're in the toughest spot. That's the hardest because you don't have any real mid-level management. You just have like a little special helper. It's like maybe you have like having a 12-year-old might be like having a nice little administrative assistant who can run around and do a few things for you, but you can't really delegate. You can't leave the house. But once you have a built-in babysitter, you're out of there and go to dinner and you're free, right? And then when the oldest turns 16 and gets a driver's license, that's the promised land. You never have to go to the grocery store again, right? So, um,
What are the ages of your kids?
so the oldest is 22. The next one's 21. So I have 2 grandbabies from those 2 kids just recently.
Oh, congratulations.
So yeah, I'm a new granddad too. Yeah, yeah. So in fact, one of my grandbabies, my granddaughter is older than my daughter because my youngest is 3 months. So yeah,
Congratulations. Oh
yeah.
my
So I
God.
got a 7-month-old granddaughter, and I got a 3-month-old daughter.
Oh,
Well,
it's so beautiful.
yeah, yeah. So that's what happens when you have a baby young and older. you know. So so anyway, as it's easier for my wife and I to find time together because we have all these teenagers who can help babysit. So we get to go out all the time. I mean, I could text her right now and just say dinner, and she'll be like, yeah, and we'll go to dinner, and then we'll come home. We're like, all right, who's the lucky victim? Ah, you're babysitting. See you later, you know. And so, but we have to do that, and the kids know it. And I'm always smooching on my wife in front of my kids because they know we're protecting our marriage by going out and spending time together. And so I think it's really important for mom and dad to kind of show their kids that, well, our life is primarily about each other. We love you guys to death. We do anything for you. We live for you. We die for you. But guess what, kids? My wife's first. Sorry, you're number two. Okay. She's number one. And I think that's a very important thing. And so we go out a lot. We have a great time. And when they're really little, it's harder. It's so you're in the toughest spot if you're in that position. So, but let's elevate out to kind of the first part of your question. How do you take care of all these kids? Well, you know, I think one of the crosses that I have to bear is that, when I had my oldest son, who I'm still just so close, I'm close to all my kids, but I'm in a certain way, you're closest to your oldest because I spent a ton of time with them. Like I got to spend way more time. We lived on the baseball field. We lived in a batting cage. We went all over we went on a hike every single Saturday. Everywhere I went, and my little guy tagged along with me. And then you have more and more and more, and you can't do that as much. And I don't get to spend time as much with the individual kids down at the bottom of the line as much as the older. But those younger kids have a community. They have a whole village that the older kid didn't have. So it's pros and cons, And so the younger kids don't expect as much time with me as the older kids, but it's a major cross that I have to bear. The hardest part about having a large family is not exhaustion. It's not finances. It's not conflict. It's not busyness, which I think is a fake word. It's actually a little bit of sorrow that I do not get to spend as much time with each one as I want. That's the hardest part of having a huge family. So, so good systems and good regulations and good processes, when you have a well-ordered family, not always perfect, not always happy, not always rich, but well-ordered, when you have that, it creates freedom and flexibility for when crises arise, and they always do. So there's always a kid who needs me more, in an abnormal amount. There's something going on. There's some kind of stress. There's some kind of tension. There's some kind of insecurity. There's some kind of problem. And just like mom, we'd have different roles, but just like mom, like when there's a sick kid, it's just like the doctor mom shows up, right? The world stops. Mm-hmm. And she's going to take care of that little kid. Well, I do the same, of course, with a sick kid, but whenever I see a kid is having a little bit more of that like emotional problem, or they feel left out of the crowd or whatever, if I have a good, well-run family, I'm able to say everything stops in my life and I'm zooming in on this one kid.
Right.
And then it's like I have one kid, not 16. Okay. Right. And that's what systems do. They don't create constriction. It creates freedom and flexibility. If you have a well-run household, then you're able to drop everything and zoom in and give that one kid what they really need. And when you have chaos running your family and you don't have a clear vision and you don't have good family meetings, you don't have good metrics and good systems in place for technology, then when your kid is suffering and needs your attention, you're too dumb and don't see it. You're blinded by the chaos and busyness of your life. Mm-hmm. So we have tremendous freedom and flexibility. We've gotten order and structure to our house. We know how we can go out and have a good time, and I can stop everything and help one kid, or we can spend all time together. So this system creates freedom, not constraints. It creates freedom so that you can give each kid what they need and when they need it. But still, it's a burden, Dorothy, that I can't spend as much time with each kid as I did my first.
Yeah, no. And I just want to speak 1 second to the idea of writing a mission statement or a vision statement with some underlying goals. Because of my background, I had done that for our family, and I couldn't really get buy-in from my husband to this mission statement, vision statement. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to do it anyway.
Yeah, and that's the answer. You just do it anyway.
Do it anyway. And when we celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary, we're now, I think you're 31 or 32, and I got this card from my kids, And they were thanking me, like, thank you for the travel. Thank you for all the baseball games. Thank you for keeping us strong in the faith. And thank you for, and I was like, oh my gosh, all of those things were in my vision statement, in my mission statement,
Wow.
right? And it was like, you know, and we hear so much about intentional parenting, and I really again want to recommend this book because it just gives you so many more tools than what I had even sort of been aware of. Now, you
But
draw.
Dorothy, you gave the answer to the question Tina was asking here about like how do you get buy-in, and that, and you try, but a lot of usually I hear, and when I'm going around the country talking, like one spouse is more interested in this stuff than the other, and it's usually there's a reason for that, Dorothy. Opposites attract.
Mhm.
And so usually you have spouses that are very different from each other, which is beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
But that usually means like one of them's an artist, one of them's a scientist, one of them's analytical, one of them's more creative or whatever. One of them's structured, one of them's like free flowing, and that kind of creates. So usually one is like more interested in this than the other. But I could explain in depth, which I won't, about why this is for both an artist and a scientist. For sure. I'm an artist and I created a book about systems. Okay. But because I think it's like a beautiful orchestra. That's what I think. But and Da Vinci, by the way, he said the greatest artists, actually, he didn't say it. I said it about him. Sorry, I got confused. Da Vinci was the greatest scientist because he was an artist, and he was the greatest artist because he was a scientist. So both. But here's the thing: if your spouse just isn't into this, that's fine. Do it anyway. Just say, okay, well, what's he gonna do? What's your husband gonna do? Tell you not to have a family meeting with the kids? Come on, just do it anyway.
Yeah, no,
Big deal.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
And if
And
he tries to prevent you to do it, then you married a jerk. What the heck? Why would a husband get in the way of doing something like this? He's not. But just because he doesn't give buy-in, then to just say, okay, love you anyway, hon. We're gonna go do this and go do it. Just go
yeah,
do it.
no, it's so true. Now, I love this next question, and I have a sensitive nuance I want to add to it, but you
I
draw
love
parallels.
sensitive questions. The
Yeah,
better that the better, the more
okay, let's
sensitive, the
go then. Let's
better.
go. Let's go. So you draw parallels between business management systems and parenting, including designating one parent as the CEO. How can parents implement a management system while recognizing and addressing the unique needs of each child, but also of each spouse? Now, something that I struggled with, and this is where the nuance comes in, and I think a lot of women struggle with it, and maybe they don't, maybe I'm just making this up. But because of my background in business, when I came into family life and when I came into being a mother, um, I kind of discovered that I really wasn't all that gentle, right? And it
Mm,
becoming a mother demanded, gentleness, out of
mm,
me. And so, thank God for our Blessed Mother because she did work in me that she's still doing. But I kind of, and I know I'm going to get some haters on this, but I think one of the problems in marriage right now is that some women have lost their femininity, me included, and I struggle with it, and I'm working on it, and I'm, praying on it. And I think that sometimes we want to have like two CEOs, and sometimes it is better for the woman to be the CEO because the husband might be a bit of a scatterbrain. He might be 100, but sometimes there are problems because you got two partners wanting to be the CEO. So I'd love to hear any thoughts on that.
yeah, first of all, I do not condone ever using titles like CEO or COO for the house. Like, I'm not a fan of that. Okay.
Okay.
I am not a fan of like using the CEO and COO term. Now, I draw comparisons between, households and business constantly. Like there's a ton of examples. But I mean, I think I've joked around in the past with like, yeah, I'm kind of the CEO of my house, but my wife's the COO and she's the one really running the ship. That's just for us. So I'm not taking a kind of a I don't want to take any of these positions of like every household's different. Like with two household incomes, it's just a different world. And, you know, if I was making way less money, my wife might be working, we might have less kids. That would be hard. That'd be a major sacrifice for us. And then it's just the rules of the game might just be different, you know? So I'm not here to talk really about like gender roles per se.
Mhm.
What I'll say is that femininity has been assaulted in the modern world, and
Mhm.
women have experienced a tremendous tragedy. In your introductory video that we watched, you had a line in there that I basically say all the time, like the demands on modern woman are unconscionable. So they all not only usually like work part-time, but they're supposed to look incredibly beautiful and wear their yoga pants everywhere. And so they have to be super fit, they have to be super healthy, then they have to be super mom and
Mhm.
take the kids to, you know, 18 soccer practices a week. And they have to make sure their kids get straight A's because dad ain't doing it because dad's lazy.
Mhm.
Um, and then they usually the cooking and cleaning burden falls on them. And then half the time they're the ones paying the bills. Like it's out, and then they have to take care of
It's
doctors and insurance claims, and they're the only ones that know where the kid's social security number is and the birth certificates. Like it's just it's insane.
it's
It's insane.
insane. It
It's
is insane.
insane,
And this is
right?
why, you know, I love, well, I'm sure a lot of people do, Carrie Gress and her book, um, the Mary book. It kind of
Yeah,
blew.
The Marian option or
Yeah,
anti-Mary
yeah,
exposed. Yeah.
yeah. And we had her speak at our Dynamic Women of Faith conference, and I was like, that's what happened to me. Now I know what happened to me, right? So just thank you
Yeah.
for that work. Anyway,
Yeah.
let's get back to the book because we don't really have that much time. Oh my gosh, I could probably talk to you for hours.
Hang on, Dorothy, hang on. Let me just tie, can I tie a ribbon on just
Yeah,
that
no,
one
no,
point?
please, no, no, please do.
Very important for me. So way too much has fallen on women.
Yes.
And so I'm not going into the world to preach anti-feminism. That's not my point, and it's not to say that man's that boss of the household. I'm not that guy. I don't want to talk about that, okay? What I do want to say is that the sin that has befallen on men is not lust, it's not gluttony, it's not wrath, it's sloth. The sin of our age for men is sloth, which is a spiritual laziness. And part of the reason that so much burden has fallen on women and they have too much to do is because men have a spiritual laziness. They're not leading their family in their faith. They're not prayerful themselves. They're not taking the spiritual burden off of their wives who are already carrying so much of the load. So my message as a guy, I have no problem looking at a bunch of men and saying, shame on you. You're slothful. Wake up, man up, and start leading your family spiritually. I have no problem doing that. But you're not going to catch me talking about what like women should be doing.
Well,
That's not my deal. That's not
yeah,
my
no, no,
deal. But
and
my
like,
deal is men are slothful and they have to get by it because the women are the ones suffering from it more than anybody.
yeah, and like a lot of women that have read my book, Motherhood Matters, accuse me, you know, that I don't like women working and that I'm trying to put women back into the, and it's like, that's not true at
That's
all.
not it. Yeah.
No
Yeah.
one has ever worked more than I have worked. And I struggle with workaholic tendencies, if the truth be known. And I've delivered more seminars than I have baked muffins, I'll tell you that much. I'm not against women working, and
No, 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 no.
you know, and when I used to deliver seminars and, you know, clients used to pay to fly me to Hawaii to give a talk to 300 women. Hey, I enjoyed that hotel. I enjoyed the trip. I'm not against women working,
No.
but I am against women hardening their hearts,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Thank you.
Because
Yes.
once a woman hardens her heart and begins to treat her child like a commodity,
Yeah, you got it.
we are in trouble, right? Because all of a sudden we're decorating our children, we're polishing our children, we're brokering our children, we've hardened our hearts, and it's all beautifully displayed on Instagram. And anyway, so
You're 100%. Amen. We could talk another hour about it, but
all right, okay,
you just nailed it. You just nailed it.
Yeah,
So thank you.
so I just if anyone's wondering, Dorothy is not against a working woman, not at all. Okay, you could recommend that parents envision each family member's 10 years out.
Yeah.
I love that. I just loved it so much. I could tell you 101 reasons why I loved it, but I won't. Um, so tell us a little bit about that. And then you also mentioned traits and temperaments. And I also love that. I had my son and daughter do temperament tests. I think they were 7. I was like, okay. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're so different than me. No wonder there's conflict, right? So just tell me a little bit about those things, envisioning the family member 10-year out and the temperament test.
Yeah, so I learned it in business too. I mean, you want to envision, we call it in business sometimes a vivid vision. So you're trying to imagine actually in the present tense. It's 5 years from today, it's 3 years from today, it's 10 years from today, whatever the time is. And you say, okay, what does my company look like in that time? And you write a detailed thing. My customers think this about us. We have these products, we have this level of sales, our culture is this and this. And you kind of explain it as if it happened, right? I love my life. I love coming to the office and working with these people because, and you kind of like describe what it would look like, okay, in a hypothetical situation. It paints a picture. So I said, we need to do that with the family. And so the 10-year portrait, I call it the 10-year portrait. It's at the bottom of the family master plan. You got to go to the website and get the master plan. It's in the vision toolbox there. But at the bottom is the 10-year portrait. And here I have a tool to help you build that. But what does your life look like in 10 years? So first I would ask people, how old are you going to be? Are you going to be retired yet? How old are your kids going to be? Where might you be living? What kind of money might be in your 401k? Like real practical things, right? You start with that. Then the next thing that you consider, Dorothy, is what traits, what attributes do I hope my family's developed or that we've improved on or that we've just done more of? What are those things that I want God seeing when he sees my family 10 years from today? When God looks down and sees the Gallagher family, what does he want to look at? Okay. So, but getting the tangible and the intangible written out,
Mhm.
then you kind of combine those two and you write a 10-year portrait. And this is a real, you try to actually craft this kind of beautifully because it's a statement of really what you want the Lord to be seeing and what you want your family experiencing and feeling 10 years from today. And when I first did it, I did it about 5 years ago. And I said, well, maybe in 10 years, I might even be a granddad. I might have grandkids by then. And it only took about 4 years to happen, not 10. But here's a practical thing. When I did it, Dorothy, I said to myself, oh my gosh, I'm not just raising kids. I am raising parents. Like I'm raising people to be parents.
Mhm.
So it changed the way I thought about my couple oldest kids right out of the gate and said, okay, you're 5 to 10 years away from maybe having a baby. You don't know. They were only in college or something. But I was like, so I have to start teaching them how to be parents. I have to start really paying attention to the spouse they get, stuff like that. And it affected me. And I think it helped. And now they're happily married and they got awesome kids. But I think that having that vivid vision of the future changes activity today. And
No,
that's the importance of it.
absolutely, absolutely. Okay, I'm just going to speed up a little bit because we only have 10 minutes and I got a couple more
Yeah, I'm
questions.
long-winded, I
Yeah,
kind of
no, no,
drag
and
on.
so am I. I probably interrupted you one too many times. Okay, what are the 4 types of family gatherings that you recommend, and what
Mhm.
should those gatherings include or exclude? Any
Yeah,
thoughts?
these are our meetings, right? These are meetings, right? And so the first is like a weekly family meeting, in which I call it the family huddle, like a football huddle, pure logistics, right? This is not the heart to heart. This is like we do it Sunday night. I have an agenda and I say, okay, what do you got coming up? And everybody in the room goes around. Okay, Monday I have this practice. Tuesday we have these activities. Wednesday, oh, there's a doctor appointment. It's the only time you'll hear me say, everyone take out their calendar. Everyone take out their cell phone. Look at their calendar, right? And so I want the cell phones out there so we can see what the heck is happening this week coming up. And so it's a very practical thing. A lot of stress comes from like surprises, right? So let's not be surprised. So, but then there's also a weekly marriage meeting where it's a heart to heart, and I'm asking my spouse, usually at dinner, hey, what do you have coming up this week? Are there any threats? Are you worried about anything? Are you excited about anything? How can I help you this coming week? What do you want from me this coming week? All right. and vice versa. So that's just our parent, no kids allowed, just us, right? And then there's a quarterly meeting, which is like where we're going through our scorecard, which we haven't really talked about. We go through the scorecard, we go through quarterly goals, which I call rocks, that kind of thing. And then there's an annual meeting, which is a little longer. But I give agendas for each of these meetings in the book and on the website. And I got videos that kind of explain this is how you do each of these meetings. So it's simple: 2 weekly meetings, one with everybody and one with your spouse, and then a quarterly meeting and an annual meeting. And each one has its own purpose.
Okay, and again, ladies, great gift for your husband for Christmas. Well, or your sons or your daughters. I think it's a fantastic book. The Well-Ordered Family by Conor Gallagher. Just moving right along here with the questions. In an increasingly chaotic and perilous world, how can parents safeguard their children while nurturing spiritual growth and promoting ethical behavior?
I think the number one in terms of safeguarding the kids, there's something called the Eisenhower Matrix. It's named for President Eisenhower, and he said that not everything important is urgent, not everything urgent is important. And so there's a grid of 4 boxes, and it's like urgent and important, or neither urgent or important. And so I have a little
Covered that too in his book, right? The 7
who's
Habits.
that?
Is Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of
Oh,
Highly Effective People? I think
probably, yeah, classic.
yeah.
And so you have to figure that out, and I think parents have a tool for that. But my point is safeguarding them, you have to understand the things that are urgent versus that are important. But the things that are urgent and important, like safeguards on technology, that's urgent and important. Do it now. Do it today. Stop what you're doing and go do it. Like, there's nothing else that you have tonight that's more important than getting control of your kid's cell phone if they're a teenager in their bedroom. Okay. It's just, there's nothing more important. So I don't care what's on your schedule, cancel it and fix that. Okay. So the safeguarding is having this intimate relationship with your kid to where you know what's going on, you understand who their friends are, and this is all that systems-based management, the technology management. That's a quick answer, but if you got control of the technology, because that's how they have their social life now. I mean, they play video games with people in India now. Like, I mean, it's the internet. It's weird for me, right? So if you're safeguarding the technology, and we got really practical tips on how to do that in the book, then you're going to be like covering like 80% of the problem. You got to focus on that.
Yeah. And well, the other thing too, I would encourage, moms and dads that there are non-negotiables in family life.
Yeah,
There was a time where my, son had a part-time job, and he'd say, "Oh, I can't go to Sunday mass because I'm working till 8 p.m." And I'm like, "We are picking you up at 8 p.m. and we are driving to the downtown cathedral for mass at 9. If you lived here, there, or anywhere, there would be rules. And so long as you live in this house with your father and I,
it's good.
mass is a non-negotiable."
Beautiful.
And the same thing with sleeping over at a girlfriend's or a boyfriend's house. It's like, no, it's a non-negotiable. I think a lot of parents are afraid to exercise.
They're afraid. You have non-negotiables in the military, on sports teams, and in every business in the world. Why can't you have non-negotiables in the family?
Well, exactly. Bada boom, bada bing. Okay. What are some of the benefits of the key family process for parents, and how should parents monitor this vital family process, which encompasses tasks and digital consumption?
Yeah. So, I talk about KFPs, key family processes, and there's 5, 6, or 7 key family processes. It might be the chore chart. It might be your financial budget. It might be outside chores, like taking care of the outside, like chickens, goats. We have that stuff, and lawn care. Like, there's certain key processes, but then there's also the digital. That's a key process. Maybe a process, like my process might be the homework schedule, homework routine. So I have a tool that kind of helps you list out, like, you need to know if you run a business, a good CEO should be able to name like the 4 or 5 most important processes, like how do they get customers, how they take care of the customers, how they pay their bills, how they ship their product, something like that. And so inventory controls something for publishers. It's always the problem with publishers is inventory. So, what are the key family processes in your family? And I have a tool that help you list that out. And once you see it on paper, you're like, oh yeah, that's the hard stuff. But once you've named it and you see it, then you can kind of start managing it a little better. So I think that KFPs are underutilized in families. If you list them out and use my tool to do it, it kind of sheds light on what you already know, but it really makes it clear that these are the areas you got to control.
Okay, I just want to sort of ask the moms because we're coming to 2:57. It's almost 3 o'clock, and I know some of you have to go pick up your kids from school and so on and so forth. Do any of you have any questions that you would like to just put them in the chat and direct them to Conor, because it's not very often, we've got the CEO of 10 publishers here. It's not very often that, we've got the author that's written an incredibly powerful book on on our podcast. If does anyone here have any questions? I've got
I
about
love the questions. I think they'd all rather ask my wife questions because she's the impressive one. I'm kind of the bozo that goes around and talks about this
no,
stuff, but she's the
I
one who at
don't.
home making it happen, you
No,
know.
don't do that. Don't be self-deprecating, because it's actually extremely refreshing to be chatting with a dad that is proficient in the business world, speaks with such confidence, and has become determined to have those processes work at home. Like, so you're a true gift, and I'm
Oh,
sure a
thank you.
lot of moms would have loved to their husbands to be watching the program today. And it will be uploaded to YouTube, so you will be able to say to your husband, hey, why don't we listen to this together? So we've got a couple of questions here. Okay, so Tina asks, how do you deliver this concept to the family, or maybe even a resistant spouse? That's one question. Thanks for your honesty and humility, Conor. That's a gift. Okay, Paula, something that has changed since 20 years ago is the spotlight on mental health. The
Mhm.
children are expressing their trauma with strict parents. How to have rules and non-negotiables with
Yeah.
that in mind.
Yeah, I can handle
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. So there is a mental health crisis. We all know that, but the question's why. So, and I think that the tech is a major part of it, and children are lost because they don't have strong parents. So, we've dealt with, I don't say mental health. Well, our kids have had problems. We've taken our kids to, different experts to say, hey, what the heck is going on with this issue or whatever. I mean, we've all had issues in our family life. So but here's the thing. I think that the secular world is treating mental health with the wrong medicine. Like they are treating the disease with more of the same disease, right? And
Mhm.
so a complete self-absorption has been debilitating our children for a number of generations now. What kids need to do to kind of get out of the narcissistic mindset that's causing most of these mental health things is there's a epidemic of narcissism and victimization. And the way you do that is the kid needs to see that life is bigger than themselves. Like the greatest thing you can give your kids, moms, is so where they don't think that they're the center of the world. And
Yeah.
like one of the benefits, not everybody can have a big family. I don't claim that. Having a big family is not morally superior. Okay. It's just um, but but one of the benefits of having a bunch of kids is that you can't spoil them. You can't spoil them. There's too many of them. So I think that there would actually be a correlation between the mental health that's affecting kids and the fact that our kids are spoiled rotten. And you don't have to make a lot of money to spoil your kids. They become we have a worshiping of our children syndrome in our world. Kids need to have a lot of chores. A study just came out, Dorothy and Paola. A study came out from Harvard of all places, and there's a direct correlation just came out between the amount of chores a kid has as a kid and their success as adults.
Wow.
So if the more chores they have, the more successful they're going to be later on. We have spoiled our kids all the way we have driven them into mental psychosis
Mhm.
because they're so bored and lazy and they don't know how to be human. So bring your kids up. I'm writing a book right now. It's called Raising Blue Collar Kids in a White Collar World.
Mhm.
Okay. And so we have to give our kids chores, give them expectations, hold the bar very high, push your kids for excellence. I'm not saying be a tiger mom and be a nasty. I'm saying expect your kids to flourish as human beings. That's the best I have. I think that our health trauma, the mental health crisis is due to spoiled and lazy kids like never before in the history of planet Earth, and we need to put a stop to that. Make your kids do the dishes, the laundry, and the yard, and don't let them have everything they want, and they're going to be better and happier for it.
Well, and I've spoken to hundreds of women, and many women, have shared with me that they're on antidepressants and so on and so forth. And very often depression is also related to mortal sin. Right? I'm like, okay, are you following the Ten Commandments? Are you on birth control? Another, people are also depressed, could be because of their thyroids, right? Have you done the
Sure.
testing? Do you
Yeah.
have
There's real
vitamin D?
issues. Yeah.
But not having a sacramental life also
Mhm.
causes, and last thing, I promise. One thing that kind of makes me a little worried and aghast is how much information moms and children are getting from Facebook groups. Like sometimes I'll be in a Facebook group and it's of Catholic moms, and I'm kind of like, really? I'm like, these women need to see a spiritual director, because some of the things that are being taught in these groups are just, they're not in conjunction with church teaching. Anyway,
Yeah.
don't get your spiritual direction from a Facebook group, and don't let your kids get their direction from Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, so on and so forth. Anyway, it's been a real honor, Conor, speaking with you today. It's been a real gift. Thank you for the inspiration that you're giving to so many, in all of your incredible books. I'm really looking forward to getting Raising Children for Eternity, because I was in a Facebook group and someone had mentioned that that was the book that really, touched them. I would ask the moms that are on here today, we'd like to kind of thank our guests by the gift of prayer. Is there anyone here today that is willing to pray a full rosary for Conor and his family, tonight as your thank you? Like I
That's
know
awesome.
I am.
Oh, that's awesome. I'll come back every day if that's the case.
Yeah, you're going to get a full rosary from Dorothy Pilarski. Is there anyone else?
Oh, good.
Roseanne
Awesome.
Warren says that yes, I will pray a rosary for you tonight. So you've got two
Thank you.
rosaries as a thing.
Amazing. Oh
And
man,
yeah,
you
and then
guys are
some of
awesome.
our women are really humble and they'll do it and they won't tell you. So
That's beautiful.
yeah.
I've probably done probably 40 podcasts, radio interviews, or TV shows on Well Ordered Family. No kidding. And I've never had somebody do what you just did. So that makes your show, because of what you just, absolute number one favorite. Boom. You just took the gold. You just took the gold, Dorothy. Way to go.
Thank you. I appreciate that, because as anyone, that's in ministries, like sometimes you're thinking, am I doing anything right? Is it really making any of a difference? So to get that kind of accolade from you,
Yes.
you've really you've touched my heart. Thank you. Thank you very
Great.
much. So thank you all for joining us today. We have a very special, I don't usually host on Fridays, but tomorrow we're having Susan Brinkman on from Women of Grace, talking about Santa, talking about the history of the Advent retreat. But because tomorrow is the Feast of St. Nicholas, we're also going to be addressing that Santa movie and why it is dangerous to your children's souls. So if you know anyone, please let them know, and also direct them to our YouTube channel, Midday Moms. Probably towards the end of the day or tomorrow, I'll get my husband to upload this video to YouTube so you can share it with everyone. And again, I encourage you to get a copy or maybe 3 or 4 copies for your son, for your husband. Great Christmas gift, great stocking stuffer. Thank you, Connor. And we'll see some of you tomorrow. Okay. Thank you very much, Connor. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Come, Holy Spirit.